It's unfortunate when you see people who had the potential to answer their soul's higher calling and walk their divine path begin to unravel. It's not satisfying to see people who went the wrong way, even at the expense of people who may have been offended and hurt and disappointed by their actions. It's not something that you sit back and you say, good for them because of what they're experiencing. That's not something that you necessarily, um, think or say, especially if their offenses was just them choosing to disappoint you or break your heart or, you know, um, decide to ignore their own discernment and ignore their own spirit team. There are those who go far left with their offenses and their catastrophic, diabolical, cowardly, wicked, and evil deeds. And you feel as if whatever consequences that come, that is necessary to balance the scales of justice, but potential chosen seeds or, divine beings who chose to go the wrong way, when you see them begin to unravel, you understand that that could be anyone who pulls themselves out of alignment or not, or stop trusting in divine guidance and stop trusting, in the divine blueprint, the divine unfolding, and ignore all the extended mercies and grace and all the warning, and allow themselves to get caught up with those around them who intentionally place themselves in their lives in order to beguile and trick them and pull them off course. When you see them say disturbing things and misquote things from a place of becoming unraveled and fear and nervousness and not knowing which way to turn, and because of their real-time experiences that appear to create paranoia, but it's really them experiencing the backlash of the sum total of what they participated in. And many times, as I said in previous videos, it's very difficult for those who went the wrong way to confess and admit the mistake they made because of the embarrassment and whatever it is they participated in that appeared to be an adventure or a good time or just simply giving their power away to those that would have them caught up into doing things that they normally would not participate in. And when you see them speak on their experiences of what they're going through, you can tell that it's the backlash and the backfire of, said rituals or, sinister behaviors, or more than that, their contribution towards creating demise and attempting to sacrifice other chosen seeds or chosen ones, divine beings, which is the ultimate offense and violation. And so the consequences that stem from these backfires and these backlashes would appear to come across as them being haunted by demonic energies. Sure, if they participated in death rituals, death magic, if they participated in poverty spells and binding spells, if they participated in any way with any rituals and incantations, ill intentions, or prayers that is meant to destroy, harm, or expire, unalive another divine being, then of course what they're experiencing is going to be dire and more harsh. Of course, it's going to come from different angles and they're going to see what it is that they meant, for an innocent soul and a divine being. Even if they gave their power away and allowed somebody else, another devil, to sway them and beguile them to participate. This is the dangers and the consequences for going the wrong way, ignoring your discernment and your intuition. We say it time and time again. It's not wise and it's not smart ignoring and not even giving yourself a chance to ask yourself, is this the choice for me? Is this the person for me? Is this the contract for me? Is this the partner for me? Is this the career for me? Is this the path for me? People will rush, run, and jump into poor decision making, making poor decisions, not giving themselves a chance to consort and, confirm with their spiritual team, or even, use their intuition. They will ignore it at all costs. And the consequences that they begin to suffer and experience later on becomes the sum total of what they participated in, along with the, intentions and consistency of what they participated and exerted. So sadly, when people begin to experience the backfires and the backlash, it's difficult to watch, it's difficult to hear what they're going through, but you could have only warned them and told them what they could expect, that they would begin to lose and be stripped of their spiritual gifts, their anointings, that, what they used to have as a divine channeling would now become those hauntings and, the voices that comes from these trickster energies, these malevolent energies and sources, opposed to that divine voice, that higher voice that's connected to the divine. When you begin to hear people say that Lucifer is their teacher, and that the archangels are demons or, tricksters, or that God himself means you harm and wants you to die. When you hear these things, you know that people are going through something serious. And a lot of that is the consequences of living behind appearances, suffering in silence without having the courage and the willingness to confess what they participated in, alleviate and relieve themselves of the pressure and the burdens of having gone the wrong way, and get it off their chest in order for them to be able to move on. And a lot of the sickness and the shortness of breath and the unexplained illnesses that many, be it in the collective or those who chose to go the wrong way, are experiencing, especially with the surfacings of these demonic cults and covens who intentionally target chosen beings, divine beings. They're experiencing the people they are around and in close proximity to, poisoning them, placing stuff in their food and their drink. This is how they maintain keeping people in binding spells, love spells, or preventing them from having a moment of clarity and being able to move on and remove themselves from these situations and scenarios. A lot of the times then when people slip stuff in people's drink and food, you're none the wiser, but you do receive the ailments. And a lot of times it comes across as nothing's wrong with you, but you know what you feel and you know what you're experiencing. And if it's done slowly but surely in portions and over time, that's how it's meant to, keep you stuck and or do the most damage. And so this too is a part of people going the wrong way and making the wrong choices and not knowing who around them that they can trust, and not having the willingness to question those around them. and see them for who they truly are. And then once they gain a moment of clarity, having the courage to act on it. I always say, once you get clarity, it's not meant for you to sit on it and ignore it and let that moment pass you by. It's meant for you to take advantage of the opportunity of the moment once you get clarity and act, move, progress, place yourself in a different environment if you have to. Move yourself beyond the circumstances and the scenario you find yourself in. But what most people do is when they get clarity, they go back and forth, they double question, they stay stuck in their head. Then most likely the devil and demon, 9 times out of 10, will get in their ear and convince them otherwise, and now they're trapped and stuck again. The clarity goes back out the window. When you get clarity and you realize the people around you don't mean you well, and that they're actual, wolf in sheep clothing, a smiling liar, a charming devil. They don't have your best interests at heart, and they are the culprit of why you're feeling the way you're feeling or why you're shortness of breath, especially if you say you've been to your physician. They did all the checks, the necessary inspections, and they can't find anything or see anything wrong. Then you have to begin to wonder, is the person around you doing something that you can't quite put your finger on? Have you participated in rituals or underhanded deeds and actions that would create karma and come back on you, especially if you have a greater sense of spiritual awareness and you understand that do unto others is what you would have done unto you, or what goes around comes around. Then you understand if you took part in any type of ritual, if you was a part of any group and you decided to get into relationship or contract, business or bed with a demonic cult and coven, and yet you decided to cover up what it is you participated in by way of embarrassment or shame or fear of backlash or being held accountable. Sometimes the best thing you can do is claim accountability, even if it comes with, backlash and consequences. Even if it meant you having to go lay down for a couple years to get your mind right, to get yourself healthy, to be able to have solace and peace, but to be able to get your mind right and to move beyond the environment you're in now. It will serve you as good, but most people are afraid from a shame, embarrassment, and fear and appearances, so they will never consider the latter, that based on what you participated in and based on the crimes and the effect that it had on other innocent souls, that you need to take accountability anyway and relieve yourself of that pressure. And then within a couple years, after turning yourself in and doing what's right, you know what I'm saying, you'll have the respect again of your soul tribe and of your spirit team, and you'll be able to get back on track. But most people don't look at it like that. They try to evade accountability. They want to evade karma. They want to evade consequences. But then they wonder why everything begins to unravel and unfold in a way that they can't control or explain. You can't have it both ways and always. When people begin to seemingly go through psychosis and lose their wherewithal, lose their mind, and they start saying all type of stuff that God is going to kill you and this, sure enough, the wages of sin is death. That's a warning. That's a consequence. That's no different than a parent telling you if you stick your finger in a socket, you are going to electrocute yourself. If you put your hand on a burning stove, you're going to get burned. That's not the parent saying, if you put your hand on the stove, I'm going to kill you. Or if you stick your finger in the socket, that the parent is going to kill you. No different. The Most High, who love you, who's supposed to be all love, is not going to, intentionally set out to kill you unless you ignored all warnings, all extended mercies and graces, and you did anything against the throne and you tried to usurp the natural rule and order, like the head fallen angels and those who rebelled had to be put out. for trying to challenge and go up against the throne, and anyone else who tried to. Yeah, there were whole planets that were made desolate, turned into wastelands for trying to go against the throne, because different beings and these certain beings would chase through the galaxy in order for the reckoning to even the score, balance the scales of justice. But to say that the archangels, who are ever willing to protect you and guide you and teach you and raise you in degrees of consciousness, who are of love, in order to be in those realms, right? They're not intentionally setting out to kill their very creation and existence that they, look after and look over. So when you hear people talk a certain way and say certain things, it lets you know that they are unraveling and they're experiencing the backlash of what they are too embarrassed and ashamed to confess of what they participated in. And it would appear and seem that it would be much easier that if they simply mustered up the courage to confess and relieve themselves of the pressure, the shame, the guilt, the fear, and get it off their chest, that they will be able to get back on track much sooner and much faster, and yield and earn the respect of their guides and spirit team and their soul tribe, without them having to hide and worry about appearances. We don't always know people's situations and living conditions and financial status or whatever, and the reasons why people make the choices they make out of desperation and plain foolishness. But the truth is, we all have a choice. We don't have to rush into bad contracts or arranged marriages, bad marriages, fake relationships, rented relationships, leased and mortgaged relationships. We don't have to do things for money, especially when we're given options. A lot of times we don't like the options we're presented. A lot of divine beings and chosen ones is presented the option of, you have a high level soul contract or a divine union soul contract. And if you will but accept it and have the willingness to put in the work and respect and honor this contract and the person that the contract comes with, that you yourself would have your heart's desire. It might take a little longer. It's going to require the necessary work, but it's going to be fulfilling, and it's going to prove the payoff in the long run. Most people simultaneously, when receiving these divine unions and these soul contracts, be it email or text or whatever communication, they are simultaneously approached by these demonic cult and covens, these smiling liars and charming devils, who 9 times out of 10 are scouting and stalking and, watching these divine partners and relationships, attempting to keep them from coming together. So if their devices are hacked, and if their emails are hacked, and their text messages are hacked, and they have a whole team of a whole network of flying monkeys, minions, and cronies, and the resources to get to another person to be able to attempt to usurp or steal them or get into a relationship before the divine partner. And most of the time they will, do a glamour spell of some sort to be able to, sweeten the deal and make themselves presentable. So where this person, most likely cannot refuse or say no. And if that other partner is none the wiser and doesn't have the wherewithal to listen to their, intuition and use their discernment, then they will end up being beguiled and tricked and going off path and being tricked off course. And this is the dangers. Now, once they get tricked off course by whatever offer or dangling carrot or shiny illusion, whatever is appealing to their lower nature, once they get tricked, Do you not think that those who intentionally scouted and recruited and stalked and put themselves in that position is not going to do whatever they can to make sure they never have a moment of peace to be able to wake up and turn back around to get back on course? No, they have to constantly be slick and sly and do underhanded tactics in order to block and stop that person from waking up and getting back on track. So they hire a whole army of flying monkeys and sellouts and clowns to stalk one person or divine chosen beings. And the closest to you, the ones who are closest to you, 9 times out of 10 is the ones that's either betraying you or causing you the most harm and damage. And that's how it works. In every organization, brotherhood, fraternity, right? In every family, etc. It's the ones closest to you that can do you the most damage and disappoint you the most. And not even the ones on the outside, not even the ones, strangers on the outside. It's the ones closest to you who study you and know everything about you that can hurt you and disappoint you and let you down the most. And then depending on, who we vet and who we trust to let in our circle, who is not a part of our, internal family, those by way of trusting, the false charm, what have you, those individuals could come into your life with a set motive, an ulterior motive, with the smile to tell you whatever you want to hear to try to destroy you. And if you don't know that the ingredients in your honey or your food or what your salad dressing or whatever it may be, wherever it's coming from, has something in there that's causing you chest pains or sickness, or if you don't know that person is, passing you around along with others and bringing something back to you, then you're none the wiser of where these ailments and sicknesses and different things is coming from and why you're feeling the way you're feeling and why you feel the need to rush to the emergency but they can't find anything, what's going on. Because a lot of times when you're dealing with these demonic cults and covens, they are commissioning spell work to keep you stuck. They see you having awakening. They see you changing your mind and your heart. They see you wanting to get back on track. These clowns and cowards, these devils, is doing whatever they can to try to prevent that. That's why I say again, and I reiterate, the second you have a moment of clarity, it's time to move. It's time to act and be decisive. It's time to do all the things that you failed to do in the first place, which is use your discernment. Whatever got you in the jam that you're in now, you're supposed to do that. But it's easier to cry and complain and allow yourself to unravel, to lose your faculties, to start blaming God and the angels rather than you taking accountability. Because it was God and the angels, your spirit team, the ancient overseers who tried to protect you and warn you in the first place by giving you an outlet, by giving you an avenue, by building you a bridge for you to cross over. But goddamn, you want them to grab your feet and legs and make you cross the bridge? That's up for you. That's up to you to cross the bridge. But they gave you the opportunity. You ignored it and went the other way. Instead of taking the bridge, you took the underpass. Instead of taking the bridge, you decided to take the back roads. You decided to go the long way. Now that you're in the wilderness and you don't know which way to turn, you don't know whether to go right or left, you want to start blaming the Most High and His angels, your spirit team and beloved ancestors and ancient overseers, for you being short of breath and having to be rushed to the emergency, or from you being placed under a binding spell, for you being beguiled and tricked and not using your discernment or not being wise enough to take the only option. That was the wisest choice. even if it took longer, even if it wasn't as appealing, even if it, required more work, it would have been more rewarding and more fulfilling in the long run, rather than the illusion that appeared to be more fulfilling in the short run, in the short term, in the immediate, you know, in the immediate now, the immediate future. You went for what looked good and felt good and seemed good and tasted good, and you went for that. But what would have set you up for safety and healing and abundance and the whole nine would have been putting the work in and yielding and humbling yourself and removing your unhealthy ego and arrogance and pride and conceitedness, high sedittiness and stuck-upness, and put yourself in the right position to let the divine guide you. But yeah, there's much to speak on and learn, you know, but what people perceive to be the rapture, what people perceive to be, the great and dreadful day, is not necessarily how it's going to unfold, even though many things were taken out of context, misrepresented, mistranslated. You know, it's not, we have ascended masters and healers and archangels. We have ancient overseers, the men and women of renown with us. We have many truths that's being revealed, and we have divine guidance. But it's up to us to come off the sidelines and stop being scary. It's up to us to truly honor our salvation, not in a religious, spooked out, far-fetched sense, but a practical, do what we're being asked to do, doing what we're called to do, and stop tripping and bugging about it. And yeah, it is of the utmost importance that we take our salvation serious and get on our divine path. And that the straight and narrow path is not going to be walked and followed by everybody. If that were true, everybody would be doing it. But there's going to be more souls that are judged than there are who's walking the straight and narrow. Everyone is not going to wake up in this lifetime. It's going to take several lifetimes for some people to wake up and get on their divine path. But one thing's for certain, everyone is not going to have a choice. Everyone eventually is going to wake up. There are souls, depending on, their refusal to get it right, their refusal to, do the right thing, who choose to remain corrupted, will be completely dissipated from all existence. Because you're given between 9,000 and 90,000 times, incarnations and reincarnations, to get it right, to learn what you need to learn, to evolve, as a starseed, as a soul, before being allowed to move on and elevate it. And those who refuse to do so, those who want to keep sacrificing innocent souls and being corrupted and, committing diabolical, atrocious, wicked and evil deeds and destroying other people's lives, eventually they will be completely dissipated, removed from all of existence, without giving the ability to ever, incarnate or create any more havoc and divisiveness and, chaos. But those of you who are beginning to experience the backlash and the backfire, this is why. The choices you made. You chose to go off course and then pretend as if you didn't go off course. You chose to ignore your soul's higher calling and your own spiritual team, and then pretend and act like it was all good, like you didn't ignore your spiritual team, like you didn't go off course, like you didn't get into the wrong situationship and the wrong relationship, the wrong like you chose to ignore as if you, like, it's all good and fine and you made the right choice for appearances, instead of screaming to the mountaintops, I fucked up, I am sorry, I am wrong, I don't care if it feels like it's going to kill me, I am going to admit I was wrong, I am sorry. Spirit team, spirit guides, I repent. I don't want to feel shortness of breath. I don't want to feel these backlash. I don't want these demonic energies standing over my bed. I don't want to see these shadows moving through the room. I don't want the plates and stuff falling off the counter. I don't want to be. I didn't know how serious this shit was. I repent. I fall to my knees. I ask for the guidance. I don't want the judgment. I don't want to be marked for judgment in this way. But of course, by the time you go that far, y'all, it's too late. You still have to pay the consequences for the choices you made, especially if it involved you attempting to hurt, harm, and sacrifice a divine being who has an extremely high ranking in the spirit realm, who is amongst the divine judges and justices themselves. And you ignored all of the warnings and extended mercies, because by the time you get to the point, you get to that point, there have been so many warnings. So many warnings. You had so much extended grace, and you decided to doo-doo, pee-pee, and just, trample over all of it. And then turn around and say, God gonna kill your ass. The archangels will kill your ass, when they trying to love you and keep you on the right track and get you to stay on the right track. I keep telling y'all act as if y'all don't understand what I'm saying, when you clearly understand what I'm saying. You just want to ignore me. You don't want to acknowledge I am who I am. I am that I am. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. Listen, the only thing that's going to help you is confess. The only thing is to speak the truth, tell the truth. Y'all keep pretending for appearance's sake. You don't need to hold a special meeting with me to confess. You don't have to hold a special meeting with anybody. The same way you use your same energy to turn the camera on and lie again, and lie some more, and keep lying. You can turn the camera on and actually try telling the truth for a change. Speaking the truth, telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Biting down and getting past your embarrassment and that whatever that feeling is in you. I hate the fact that I gotta do that. You rather do that, or you rather receive that backlash of them shadows and them demons that you summoned, and that backfire from them rituals that you summoned up, that witchcraft and that demonic energy y'all put out there against innocent people that's not supposed to touch them. That the divine, the Most High said, I'm not letting that shit touch my anointed. I'm sending it back to y'all. And now y'all scared and nervous and upset and angry, but y'all the ones who did it though. It was your actions and intentions, nobody else's. And you of all knew better, but you're stubborn and you're hard-headed, and you chose to allow others to make choices and decisions for you that you knew you were supposed to make for yourself, and you chose to give your power away to somebody else to misguide you and mislead you and lead you down a path. Had you had the common sense, the courage and the strength and the discipline and the maturity to make better choices, you would not have gone down that path. And I'm not saying it in a judging way, because we've all made mistakes and none of us is perfect, and we've all grown from particular places in our life where we can remember we didn't make the best choices, or we weren't the nicest, and we didn't do everything by the book. However, we grew, we evolved, we learned to make better choices, and we learned to come into agreement and in alignment with our soul's higher calling. And that's what it's all about. That's the whole purpose of life, is living and learning and evolving and growing. right? The things we used to do, we don't do anymore. By the time we reach a certain point, we don't do the same things we used to do. And also have an ability, y'all. Use common sense and discernment. If you know, if you already know that there's consequences for your actions, to the best of your ability, try to be as balanced as you can. Too much of one thing is not always good, right? Sometimes you gotta switch it up. Life can't be all about partying, and life can't be all about, being uptight. But if you know that the majority of your days need to be spent perfecting your craft, perfecting yourself, and walking the straight and narrow, listen, your idea of partying have to be more so celebrating and honoring and respecting soul tribe and family, and coming together to, honor, respect, and celebrate one another and have good times, and, cookouts and barbecues. Be that barbecue sauteed vegetables, or be that barbecue, lion's mane. I don't know. But, the idea of what we consider partying when we have a great mission at hand, you can't learn that after it's too late. You have to incorporate that as you go along. You can't say, "Oh, I'm gonna, ride life till the wheels fall off, make all type of reckless choices and decisions, and then when the backlash come, now I'm ready." I mean, it shouldn't have to take all of that for you to finally get ready and learn. When you short of breath and you feel like you're getting ready to check out, and you got all kind of demonic energies coming at you, making you think God trying to kill you. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to go that far. And you should not have to be so scary to where you can't walk away from a demon that's in your presence. That way you can't say goodbye to a relationship that's not serving you anymore, to a person that's not serving you, who is trying to unalive you on the low by placing stuff in your food and your drink, or trying to bind you and keep you in a state of confusion. All of these things is about maturity, man. Using your common sense and having the ability to stick and move. You staying stuck in a situation where you don't belong, that's dragging you down, that's unaliving you slowly but surely, and you confused about everything that's going on, but you ain't willing to do shit about it. Like, get out of there. Like, move away from the situation. Like, change your environment. Like, change your course. Like, change your thinking. Like, do something different. Like, change, period. You just keep doing the same shit, going along, letting the same devil be in your energy, in your environment, and everything's all good. Once you get clarity, you have to act on it. You listen, nobody else gonna come along, pull your arm, move your feet for you, move your arms for you, and make the choices that you have to make. Snap the fuck out of it, yo. Why can't you snap out of it? Oh, I did see another person who has an entity attachment explain this. There's another potentially person who spoke on this. That's probably one of the last videos I watched of this particular person, as I don't, focus on this person at all. But they explained it. This person talks in third person, and not in third person, but when they record, like many of you who went the wrong way, when you give your so-called channel messages, um, you speak on, what's coming through, and you speak on certain situations and scenarios and individuals as if you're not speaking about yourself. And this particular person spoke on how, you know, based on how far people went with the rituals and the diabolical, atrocious, weak-minded, cowardly, petty, spiteful deeds and actions by one-sided competition and jealousy and envy, what pushed them, and whatever the reasons was, that they made the foolish choices they made to go as far as they did, and to commissioned these entities that they didn't read the fine print. They didn't know what they was really getting themselves involved in, and maybe they did, right? But the need and the desire to want to win at all costs and wanted to drain someone of their energy or to drag them down at all costs when they didn't deserve it, just selfishness, pride and ego, wanting to win and, beat somebody so badly, you know. They, use all kind of spells and witchcraft and low vibrational practices, and this caused the backlash. And when these entities attached to them and gain control of them and bind them because they wanted to bind a divine chosen being, but the entities return and that witchcraft and low vibrational demonic energy returns and latches onto them. This person actually explained that they know what they're doing is wrong. They know what they're doing is evil. They know what they're doing. They need help. But they have an entity that's, controlling them, right? And refusing to let them go and forcing them to make these choices, and they can't help themselves. She explained it. And when I heard that, I'm like, okay, I hear and I see. I don't know if anyone else hear or see, because the comments would be like, you right. You so smart. And you right. And this and it's like, but y'all don't understand that this person is talking about themselves. This person is trying to confess without confessing. This person is telling you what they're going through. This person is one of the ones that's wearing a mask who had so much great potential. This person is one of the ones that wasn't supposed to have an entity attachment had they been mature, had they made the right choice. But this person is telling you what happens when you go the wrong way and you want to win at all costs, lie, cheat, steal, and perform rituals and have devils around you convince you it's a good idea to perform rituals, demonic rituals, and against divine chosen beings. And then when these rituals backfire and them entities bind and latch on to you, and now you have something in you that's controlling you. Even as you look in the mirror, you appear to be your normal self, but your normal self is practically damn near gone, and there's something else within you that's controlling you. And you have no power over it, and you don't know how to get rid of it, and you don't know how to exercise it, and you suffer in silence. And yet you keep doing the same dumb shit over and over because you can't control your ways, and simultaneously that what you're doing is wrong and evil, and it's going to create more karma and demise in your life and drag you down even further. Yet you keep doing it because you can't control yourself, because you have this attachment to you. And so the cycle goes on. And you would actually need a divine being who has been raised up in degrees of consciousness, wisdom, and knowledge by their archangels and ancient overseers, their beloved ancestry, and those who passed their spiritual gifts down and allowed them to learn the various degrees of being able to cleanse and, heal, right? Nathar Anupu Anubis said, you're a healer because you healed yourself. And when you heal yourself, you are a healer, right? And so if you're not capable of healing yourself, you can't heal anybody else. Or let me say it this way, you can't heal anybody else if you're not even capable of knowing how to heal yourself. So a lot of times we do things foolishly, but still there's supposed to be some type of balance within us that let us know not to go too far, not to go that far. And yet those who are so drawn in by power and illusion and material lust and gain and appearances and wanting to fit in at all costs, and even though they have discernment, they got spirit team, they got warnings, and all they had to do was listen. Yeah, it would have took longer. Yes, it'll require work. but it would have worked out in the long run. And they usually realize that after the adventure fades, after the reckoning comes, then it's like, man, I should have just put the work in. Yeah, it would have took longer. Yeah, it was going to require discipline and sacrifice. Yes, it was going to require humility. I was going to have to yield and humble myself. I was going to have to be truthful and honest and speak from the heart, communicate from the heart, and, really, really let my guards down and, let another person in. And yes, we was going to have to work and heal together, but it would have been worth it, opposed to this reckoning that you're now experiencing, or this binding that you can't escape from. I'm just talking real shit. I'm just letting you know that, listen, no matter how beautiful or pretty, if you're feminine, or, handsome, if you're a gentleman, you know what I'm saying? No matter how you look on the outside, does not speak on what's going on behind the scenes. There have been many beautiful entertainers that was suffering in silence that ended up, as they claim, taking their own life based on their suffering. But we're also wise enough to know, in this world with these demonic cults and covens and criminal networks and organizations, that they do unalive people and then lie and say that the people unalive themselves. We know that happens more often than not, especially when you have wise, intelligent scientists and biologists and doctors who have everything to live for, even entertainers that's looking forward to dropping their next album and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? They find them in bathtubs and they never took baths when they on the road. You know what I'm saying? Crazy stuff like that. Or, people who make the announcement ahead of time. I have no interest at unaliving myself, or I have no desire to harm myself in any way. They make the announcement and tell you ahead of time, and y'all dummies still believe when these devils unalive them, and they come out with the same generic, you know what I'm saying, reason for the same crime they commit. There's no outrage. You're like, nah, we're not accepting that person unalive themselves, because they already told us ahead of time that they have no desire to do that and they would never do that. And no, we don't accept that they were overdosed on anything, because their whole career and their whole life, they never used drugs or substances and had any reasons to overdose on anything. So why now they overdosed? And no, we don't want to accept that, they unalive themselves in any way, because they had major projects that they were working on. And, they were publishing books and doing things and, getting ready to release powerful information in science and etc. So now we don't believe that narrative, that fake, false, demonic lie of a narrative. We know that there's a corrupt, criminal, sinister network that actually did the unaliving, and there's a reckoning for that too. So, for those of you who went the wrong way, try confessing. What can it hurt you at this point? Instead of rushing back and forth to the emergency with the scare of feeling like you get ready to check out, or seeing those shadows. You've done everything. You went as far as you can go. Just let it out. And listen, I'm not naive. I know that even though I'm saying what I'm saying now, you probably will still ignore and make your own choice, and that's your choice. But the reality is, it's not going to change you from experiencing what you're experiencing. It's going to get worse and worse and worse, to the extent that, hey, you might just have to expire and experience that. But you never know if you decide to confess and relieve yourself of that pressure. You never know, right? And get yourself back in the game, so you can help raise the frequency of the planet against these retarded sellouts who join these criminal networks and sell their soul to be weirdo stalkers and harassers, and create noise campaigns and try to block truth and worry about, people recording and following them in green spaces, hiding behind trees and bushes, and using frequencies on the phone. These are the things that we have to worry about. And if you was a real soldier, You will be on this team. You will be on this side instead of being a coward. Instead of being a coward, you will be on this side, and you will do anything possible that you can to confess, work it out, and get back on this side. But no, you want to be under the control of the person you got into a relationship. You want to be under the thumb of your family members and the people that use you for your resources or your energy. You wanna, you know what I'm saying? Like, you desire to be fearful and not want to make any changes and think that things is just gonna naturally change. Even when you come to the summarization and the conclusion that, oh, we gotta walk the straight and narrow. Well, how you think that's it? That still requires sacrifice. That still requires you getting away from the devil you're around. Unless the devil convince you that they walking it with you. That's a personal choice. You usually get on that choice by yourself. And then you come into contact with Soul Tribe and people that are like-minded. Not, oh, we doing it together because my wife doing it or my husband doing it, or, you know what I'm saying, they doing it so I'm gonna do it too. That's fake. That falls apart. You that's a personal choice that you have to do for yourself. And then you come into contact with like-minded people. And then those like-minded people begin to build the world, the new world that is promised to them, that the meek shall inherit the earth. Not God is going to kill the meek. Not all this crazy shit that you start to come up in your brain because you're unraveling and you don't know which way is up and which way is down. We have to build this new earth by coming together. It's not going to be done with me by myself, or you by yourself, or somebody over there by themselves. We have to let go of our unhealthy ego, arrogance, and pride, and yield and come together by divine decree and be obedient and remain in alignment, because any one of us can lose our gifts. If we decide, oh man, nah, I bought this house, I'm staying with my house. How many times you seen hurricane zones? They tell them to evacuate, that they own nice houses, and they choose not to evacuate. They go out with the house. It's no different than anywhere else. You can't let things be the reason why you fall out of alignment and that you don't stay in alignment with the divine who is guiding you. This is a mission overall. This is a mission overall that must be completed. And if you're not in alignment with the divine, there's only one other side that you are in alignment with, you are in agreement with, that you chose to be a part of. There's only one other side. There's no two ways about it. When you stop being in alignment, you choose to be in alignment with the divine. You choose to be in alignment. Excuse me, I got a flying monkey over my shoulder recording my screen. I told you this is a criminal network of sellouts and clowns. And all they do is steal and eavesdrop and ear hustle and record and use frequencies. This is why those of you who are divine must come together to create your own green spaces, to where you don't have to be around these weirdo stalkers and clowns and sellouts. When we come together and build our own, we don't have to worry about each other stepping on each other's toes and doing weird shit, hanging out over your shoulder, recording your screen and recording you, create content while you're recording it, and having weird ass individuals around you monitor you and watching you and stalking you. We don't need to be around these sellouts. We can create a world where we respect and honor one another, where we can have peace and privacy, where you can pray and meditate and you don't have spiritual haters that's scared of you praying and meditating. Why you want to live in a world where you have clowns scared of other people praying and meditating? It bothers them that much that they got to create noise campaigns and act like retards because somebody is praying and meditating. So listen, try doing it the other way. You did it the other way. You made your mistake. You went off track, but do it the other way. Confess, get it off your chest, get back on track. And if you choose not to, then you choose not to. Hopefully, if allowed to, you'll get it right in the next life.